Hi, how are you, Amy?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
I'm glad we were finally able to connect. We had an unfortunate series of events.
Yeah. Finally, it all linked up, though. Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So you had a very big weekend. Can you talk to me about what happened in your last fight?
Yeah. I mean, Jon Barnard definitely brought the best out of me. I think we had a pretty wild start. That was like really Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns kind of first round, where we got right to it. The action, we brought the action to Denver, and he hurt me a little bit early on in the first round, almost knocked my front tooth out, and he had me thinking. He had me thinking a lot. But by round two, I kind of seen him kind of winding down, and then I started kind of picking him apart. And I just realized that I had to outweather him and I had to outdog him. But Jon Barnard definitely brought the best out of me. He definitely he brought the heat, and there was no doubt about it. I still am a little marked up, but we walked away with the victory. I think that was the biggest thing that we could possibly do, and I'm just glad we got to share the moment. And he's a true warrior.
Did you kind of expect that fight from him, or did the fight go a little differently than you had anticipated, like when you were thinking about how that
Uh,
might go?
yeah, that's a great question. I thought that maybe I'd be able to pick him apart with my jab a little bit more. Um, he was level changing and finding high volume pretty early on, and I kind of like I said, I had to weather that. So, um, I mean, I expected to be able to kind of put a boxing clinic on him, but I didn't expect him to come with so much fire in him. And his timing was on point, his speed was on point, his level changes were great. So those were things that I had to, weather early on and figure out. And then once I kind of started creating space and finding my full leverage of the punch and really picking up momentum, I could see the wear and tear on his face and stuff like that. So I knew that, it was evident that what I was doing was working, but I was still on very, I was uncautious. I was very, very uncautious mode, and I was waiting, just in case, he still had something in the tank to release on me. I wanted to make sure that I could weather it. And, we stick to a game plan. We plan to box, but it doesn't always turn out that way because, someone like John's there to win. And it just was a great fight. It was a great clash, all in all.
Did you guys like? I know you guys are all probably staying at the same hotel, and you're going to see each other at the after party. Did you guys exchange words, share a beer, anything like that?
He went up and rested at the after party, which it was a tough fight, and obviously I think he needed some stitches in his face. But I saw him all week. I mean, all the way up until the weigh-ins. We were both actually downstairs at the gym scale trying to see if we were on weight the morning of and the morning before weigh-ins. So um, it was interesting. Obviously, you don't want to have to run into each other, but it's all love up until the fight. By fight day, though, like we had crossed paths coming out of the elevator, and there was no more like handshakes and stuff like that because we knew that we're about to clash. So um, I could feel that friendly tension kind of going away, or as fight week got close.
Have you ever had to fight an actual friend, somebody that you had a friend, an actual legitimate friendship with beforehand?
I've been in a lot of fistfights. Yeah.
No.
Pretty much my whole life. I fought in pretty much every single one of my friends. I honestly can't count you as like a real, true, great friend unless I fought you. Honestly, it's just one of those things. Growing up in a tough area where, a lot of kids, it's a sink or swim mentality. We all picked on each other and we all grew from that. And I think that's what kind of shaped me into being the fighter I am today.
It's funny you bring that up because I always ask everybody if they remember the first time they threw a punch. So it sounds like yours might have been like a really long time ago. Do you remember that moment, the first time you threw a punch?
Yeah, it was a kid in the neighborhood. He was kind of a little deviant. He was killing frogs and amped up the turtle, and I ran with it. I was about 6 years old, and he chased me to the pond, and I threw it back in the pond. And as I turned around, next thing you know, I'm in a fist fight, um, trying to save this animal's life, trying to be the big man. And I don't think I won that fist fight, but down the line, I started fighting that kid more and more because he was kind of like the neighborhood punk. And there was times where I definitely had won. I'd always won some and I always lost some. I was a smaller guy, and I always picked big battles. More likely they picked me, and I just wouldn't want to back down. Um, but yeah, I pretty much my whole life, even in middle school, I think that's when it really started, where I fought almost everybody out of my middle school. So I just grew up in an area where people, it was a fight or flight mindset, and I was always down for a fight.
Do you ever think about what happened to that kid, that pond kid?
I kind of know what happened to him. I
Oh,
think he's doing good. He kind of fell down a couple, um, had some bad situations happen to him in life, which he had a tough upbringing. So he was one of those kids that you kind of saw that coming. But I think from here on out, I heard he's like sober from drugs and stuff like that. But I know he got caught up in that kind of situation. But he was that type of kid where you kind of saw that, and he had a lot of demons, and I don't think he had great parenting. So um, it's just one of those situations, though, that I needed to have fights like that to get me where I am right now, and that's just a funny childhood memory now,
yeah,
looking back on it.
yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those fights that you think back on, you're like, wow, now I'm competing at the highest level, and it's just kind of funny to look back on.
How did you find your way to BYB? How did you get, or I guess BKB now, right?
BKB now,
Yeah,
yeah, with the new
BKB.
promotion,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
exciting, right?
The new rebranding. I'm excited about it. I think it's a
Yeah.
little bit easier to market. It brings it back to the original BKB days where it started in Queensland and stuff like that, and England really had it well promoted. And now we're just one thing. You know what I mean? We're collab with BKB, but now we are BKB. So it's kind of cool to just have the new rebranding and be a part of it. And it's also really cool to be a part of being the last one to defend the title as BYB too. So
True.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of history now. There's a lot of history behind it.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a great question you asked before. I was kind of having my down end in boxing, and I wasn't really getting well promoted and well marketed anymore. They was kind of using me as like a journeyman, and I was taking tough fights, and I just wanted to get paid and build my name. So I was never afraid to say no because I always felt confident in my craft. Um, but I took a couple L's, and then in boxing, you're kind of looked down on after that. And that's when kind of BY Mel and all of them approached me and was like, hey, we have an opportunity for you here. And they said they wanted to kind of build me up and promote me. And since then, I've been riding with it. I got the platform, the content, and all that. And they treat me like family at BKB. So it's just been a fun start and a great beginning all around.
Did you have to change up anything based off the way the ring is built? Or I've heard some people try to train in that space. Some people don't really care. It's not a big deal. Like, do you have to do anything coming from that boxing background going into a Trigon?
I mean, yeah, getting caught up in the tie plums and stuff like that, that dirty boxing. I was eating uppercuts from John and I was giving them back, but I've been swimming a lot with a lot of MMA guys, which swimming means, going left to right, right to left, and just feeling each other's body momentum shift and stuff like that. Um, and that's kind of how I got out of a lot of those situations is when I felt his body motion shift, I would kind of go the other way and yank him with me, or I'd fall into it and then yank back real quick. Just finding the momentum shifts in the swimming and the tie plums and stuff like that. And I'm getting really good in that clinch, grabbing the head, pulling it down, and working off that dirty boxing. So um, there was a lot of change ups because in boxing you obviously have the padding of the gloves. You can play a lot of counter roll defense. Where here you got to be more out here parrying the shots and countering off it and making sure it counts. Um, it's easy to break guard in bare knuckle. There's not really any guard to play defense with. So when you're just fighting with bare hands, you got to be pretty direct and pretty precise. And um, it's been channeling over pretty well because I am kind of a precise pin shot fighter. I like to snipe a little bit. And as I kind of get more comfortable with finding my range and letting my hands go, I could see myself kind of picking John apart with my hands and my boxing skill.
You mentioned you've been training with MMA fighters. Anybody we would have heard of? Anybody interesting you've been training with?
He's coming off a loss, but he's a good friend of mine. He'll bounce back from this, but his name's Travis Demko. He's a kid to look out for. He just fought for the Combat FC belt. He's gonna have his shot at the UFC Fight Contenders series, I think, soon. And then Jake Pilla. I'm going to be starting to go down to Jake Pilla's gym. Jake Pilla's kind of coming up. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. And, I think he's going to have his shot at the UFC Contender Series soon, too. So
Nice.
there's a lot of guys locally that are putting it on. And I like to put them in my camp because they're kind of used to working with, not much defensive padding and stuff like that.
Right.
Where in boxing, obviously, you can kind of roll and catch and shoot a little bit better than you could with bare hands.
Right.
But I have a lot of people in my boxing camp too. I mean, Kevin Walsh, he's on a big winning streak. He's coming up. He just won the WBC USA title against a tough Ricky Dos Santos. And then Johnny DePina. Johnny DePina's a really good fighter out of here in New England. He's fighting on Eye of the Tiger soon against an Olympian from Canada. And these are guys that I need in my camp, that they teach me how to be more precise, and my timing gets a little bit more elite. And I think boxing's the most pro dominant in bare knuckle. Obviously, MMA does shift over because of the Thai plums.
Mhm.
But if you're a good boxer and you can create the range and the distance, then I think you'll always have an easier outing, rather than the guy that needs to kind of force the inside clinching and take a little bit of punishment to give it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'd like to ask a couple non-fight related fun questions for you here. So we want to hear about your personality outside of fighting. Do you have any weird hobbies that don't relate to fighting?
Um,
So many of you guys say no.
Shit. I don't know. Fighting's kind of the
The life, yeah.
I like to play video games. I like to play
Okay.
video games. I like to go on walks. I like to run a lot. I actually was a cross country runner before I was a fighter, so
Okay.
I use a lot of running and cardio for my camp. That's something I like to do. I kind of get that runner's high still, and I actually want to try at some point to run in the Boston Marathon when my career is over. So that's just a fun fact down the line that I want to do.
That's cool. All right. What's something you're binge watching right now on TV or a movie?
Ooh, ooh! This show called From. It's on MGMT Plus, MGM Plus.
Okay.
Um, Very good show. Kind of gives you an eerie Stephen King feel. I don't want to ruin it too much, but
Okay.
if you want to get dragged down the rabbit hole really quick, yeah, that show From on MGM Plus is
From?
really good. You can get it on. Yeah, it's called From. It's on Prime. It's on Prime.
Okay. Okay.
But if you're subscribed to Prime, then I think you get like MGM and all them too. But it's a really, really good show. Creepy, very creepy, uneasy vibe, and you don't know what's going on. Things just get crazier and crazier as it goes on. So if you like kind of that horror, mystery, kind of psychological, mind kind of game, then this is the type of show you'd want to watch.
That is absolutely not what I want to watch, but my 18-year-old son would love that, so I'm going to tell him right
Yeah,
now here.
pass the word along. Pass the
Yeah.
word along. It's a good show.
It sounds like nothing I would enjoy. What's your favorite cheat meal?
Oh man, I love pizza. I like good pizza though. Pizza, a good a good tavern burger, like with like maybe chipotle mayo sauce, chipotle aioli, wings, pretty much everything a fighter shouldn't be eating.
Yeah.
Um, Today I went to a coffee shop and I had a blueberry muffin with like a cheesecake filling in it, and that was super good. Yeah, that was really good.
That sounds
And I'm like, wow, man, I heard this, but and then you feel kind of bad. You're like, I need to get back to the gym. Like, I got to go do stuff.
yeah.
But it's cool to kind of reward yourself. I like to eat. I like to eat bad, but I like to eat good too because it just keeps my mindset at a good pace. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
kind of keeps me on track. Keeps me on
You got
track.
to reward yourself every now and again.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, last question, and I know you just fought, so you probably don't know this yet, but when can we see you back in there? What's the goal, at least, for how soon you want to get back in there?
I've heard that Vice wants to do some stuff, so I'm gonna hopefully be in touch with them soon. I also want to maybe do some commercialing with some of the Clue sponsorship. I talked to the USA brand ambassador, and we had some things in mind. So that's coming up. But the fight game, I think we'll probably be aiming for July, maybe early August. Just want to be 100%. I feel pretty healed up already. I'm going to be back in the gym tomorrow night. But I don't know. I have a lot of people in front of me: Carlos Guetta, Harvey Dawsett, yeah, Callum Skane's coming up, Johnny Jones, and I might even go to 135. So whatever they really want, I'll be ready for. But I think by midsummer, late summer, you'll be seeing me back in Trigon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Amy. Thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.